Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, and you are tuned into the Paranormal Zone.
Look, I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen. It does happen.
A ghostly apparition in the dark of night.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
You know, Mike, it's been a hell of a long time. Far too long. Way too long. Too long for our own good.
A plethora of days and months.
I was going to say, and months even.
Yes.
Not quite
absolutely.
years. Not quite years, but getting darn close. But it's been far too long since we have taken a quote-unquote deep dive into the world of true crime. I think it's about time we did such... We even did a little bit of prep for this one. I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of you. It was amazing. I sent you 3 links. And
yes, I read one.
You read one.
I didn't see the other ones.
Well, and it was kind of, which is understandable because it's me. It's not like I also wrote additional notes on there saying such things. Well, here is the link.
Please read.
Please read. Also, maybe perhaps check into this other one. I mean, it's understandable. I get it.
Yeah.
But
I had a bad day.
Well,
I got a shot in my thumb, and it hurt, and it hurts still.
Man, like directly right into the tip of your thumb, or
right into the joint next to the hand.
Right where it meets your hand. I see. Yeah,
my psoriatic arthritis is really messed up there, and it has narrowed the tube in which the tendon goes through, I guess. That's what the doctor said. So with that not being wide enough to slip through easily, the tendon will get caught on this knuckle.
He's pointing to the knuckle underneath his thumbnail.
Yes.
Yes.
And then my thumb gets locked up, or it'll snap when I try to move it. Sometimes I can't even move it.
I've seen that happen to you. I've seen that happen to you.
Oh, man. But I got a good cortisone shot in there today. So let's see what happens.
I guess you could have worse things lock up on you. Yeah. So
yes, that's absolutely true.
I mean, you have to look at it like that. It's not like your head freezes. You turn to talk to Mary, and all of a sudden it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Or unless that has happened, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it has, but very infrequently.
Okay, well that's.
But anyway, yeah, and next month I am going in for a second opinion on my destroyed shoulder.
Oh, that deserves a round of applause. You sent me that text yesterday, and I was just like, oh, thank you for at least taking this step. I mean, this could very well be, Mike, a step towards having 2 functioning arms again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's in all sincerity. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
It should be good.
It should be good. It will be good.
My doctor suggested and set up an appointment with a specialist and second opinion. And if they do surgery, the way the other surgeon said it'll take a full shoulder replacement.
Damn.
Which I don't look forward to, but
well, it's either that or just having a limp noodle hanging, attached to your shoulder.
A limp noodle that I can kind of flop around a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah.
I mean, it's great for swimming. It really is.
Well, I was going to say it's probably great for practical jokes, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you could.
Mary laughs at me a lot.
I was going to say maybe you could. You could pull a prank or two on Mary. I don't know. Who the hell knows what's happened? But But it's good to see you again. 1 shoulder or not. Hopefully 2 functioning shoulders in the near future. That's great. But as I was saying, it's been a hell of a long time, Mike. A hell of a long time. since we have taken a dive into the never pleasant, weirdly fascinating world of true crime, but without straying too far from our passion, what has made this podcast float for the last however many years, the paranormal. Why not combine the two, my friend, right? True crime, paranormal. We love it, and that's what we're talking about tonight. It's interesting ground for sure. I hope you're ready to take this on.
Oh.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. I was excited. I was ready to get home after my deal with the doctor and start.
After your thumb shot.
Yeah.
Man. It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
One. Well, in case you are new to the program, and believe it or not, as hard as it may be to believe, we do get new listeners from time to time. This is your weekly dose of all things paranormal, strange, and mysterious. The Paranormal Zone is where you're at. My name is Patrick Koffenberg, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host with the ghosts, the paranormal poster boy himself, the messy baby, Mike Carbno. Now, the reason I said messy baby, Mike,
okay,
because that literally popped into my brain right before we started recording, because you made a mess. You made a little spillage.
I did.
And I joked, oh, messy baby, baby.
I spilled my iced tea.
Now, did you spill it upon like your crotch? So what was it, like uncomfortable? Was it icy?
What happened is I was swirling my glass because I was stirring it up a little more because I saw sediment on the bottom of it. Okay. So
what the hell? Are you putting sand in your drinks? What the hell?
Well, it's the tea.
Oh, okay.
The powdered tea mix.
I guess.
And I guess I spun it too fast, and boy, she came out like a tornado. So that's what happened.
It just seems odd that you referred to it as sediment, because to me,
well, it's what it looked like.
Are like fossils forming in it right now?
It's down where the suckers feed.
Mike is drinking sludge right now because it's filled with sediment from the bottom of some lake that he just dredged before this episode began. But
I don't want to finish my tea now.
Yeah, no. Who knows what the hell you're drinking right now? Who knows what bacteria?
Get some mossy shit in there or something.
Well, hey. Moss.
Sorry. Excuse my French.
Well, that's okay. Yeah, we've never sworn on the Paranormal Zone.
No,
ever.
That's true.
Ever. That's why that big giant explicit sign is on every episode on the old iTunes and wherever else you decide to listen to this podcast. You know, that's an interesting question that I'd like to put forth. If you have the time, if you're interested to reply, tell us how you do listen to the podcast. Do you watch on YouTube? Do you listen on iTunes? Do you listen through Spotify, iHeartRadio? Just throw it back at us. I'm interested. I'm interested to hear the dynamics of the listening audience. You know, where and when you guys listen. That's kind of an interesting tidbit to throw out there. Maybe, I don't know. Mike's staring at me. Mike is staring at me blankly. I tell you what, boys and girls, there's nothing more
disturbing.
Well, that too. Disheartening. I'm struggling to find a word or a phrase or a sentence or anything that seems to spark just a remnant of interest in Mike's glazed eyes as he's just staring at me. I'm like, oh, good Lord, how long do I have to ramble on here? But
oh, well, hey, put your hand up in the air and wave for a clue or something. Make sure I'm still awake, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I can't tell if you're breathing, that's for sure.
I get so enthralled with what you're saying and how you're putting it out.
Oh,
it's just amazing to me,
okay.
and
I'm
transfixed.
Well, I get you. I don't know. I'm not making fun of the man. I worry that you're having like a Mitch McConnell moment, and you literally like become catatonic for about 5 minutes. Okay, just making sure.
I'm demon possessed.
Well. Hey, at
That's
least that'd be interesting podcast content, at least. So.
Yeah. Oh boy, ask some questions on that one.
Tune in. Mike is possessed. Now, that would be interesting for more ways than one because you have come a long way, my friend, when it comes to believing in, quote unquote, believing in the possibility, the reality of supposed demonic possessions.
Yeah.
The
True.
Carbno Kid, as I used to refer to him back in the day, he had no time for such nonsense. Man, up until at least not that long ago, 2-3 years, I'd say. You were pretty adamant, pretty opposed
to
the idea of demonic possession. But all you have to do is play him some terrifying Annalisa Michelle.
Don't even talk about it.
Or Annalise Michael. Yeah, I get you. I get it. Play him some audio clips from that horrifying exorcism, and then Mike is he's a believer, at least temporarily.
Well, I'm working on it.
Yeah, you're open-minded to it.
Open-minded
to it. Well, Mike, in all sincerity, all kidding aside, it's good to see you. Let's dive into some of these cases here. Some of the stuff, I believe we may have discussed one of these cases back in the Alternate Realm podcast days. So it's time for a reboot of sorts on that topic, that particular one. But we do have some new ones here, new to us. I know we haven't spoken about them on the Paranormal Zone. Probably not ever, because they're not ringing a bell to me at all.
Okay.
Now, that could be old age.
Well, they certainly wouldn't ring a bell with me. I'm sure.
Well, last week's topic wouldn't ring a bell with you, Mike.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
I'm kidding.
Mary worries about me. She doesn't let me drive anymore.
By the way, you were, I was nervous. I was concerned that I upset you with our text message exchange last night.
When was that?
Well, because I said I'll send out a twit to promote the episode.
Uh-huh.
And you said, that's a great idea. You sent me a funny GIF, and I sent back, well, it's a great idea, only if you help out.
Yeah.
And
I sent that GIF.
Oh, man. I felt bad.
Very sullen looking.
I didn't know how to react like that. I was like, oh, God.
And I said, I thought I am.
And I felt bad. I felt like I crossed the line. I was like, oh, goodness. Did I hurt Mike's feelings?
No, you didn't.
Are you sure?
Because you said ha at the beginning.
I did.
And ha at the end.
Exactly.
So.
That's how I laugh. That's how I laugh in real life.
You're not an LOLer.
Well, sometimes when I find something really funny, I actually proclaim LOL. LOL. Doesn't everybody do that? And if it's mild,
exclamation marks
with 3 exclamation marks, if it's mildly amusing, I'll just go ha, and then if I feel pleasantly surprised by someone's attempt at humor, I'll go ha ha. And
okay.
If it's terribly amusing. If it's something that's worthy of a knee slap, I'll go ha 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 ha.
Okay.
You got that? So there's a difference in the ha's.
Got it.
Different levels.
Okay.
Am I the only one who laughs like that?
I don't.
Oh.
But that doesn't mean there isn't some other person, some small country southwest of it and by himself.
Well, we don't need specific locations here, Mike's going to give us a geography lesson here now, but alrighty. Anyways, well, we're about 12, 13 minutes in. I guess we better start talking about some of this stuff, right, Mike? Now, some of the topics that we did cover in fairly good detail in the past include such paranormal / true crime related horrible true stories. Obviously, I'm being redundant there with the word true, but the Villisca House axe murders, for example, I mean, that's one of our quote unquote dream locales to check out, Mike. But that was a great discussion a while back. Horrifying example of true crime related to the paranormal. That particular case, I wrote down these 2 notes, Mike, to kind of separate our topics of choice tonight. And I wrote down paranormal after effects, so to speak, and then I wrote down paranormal directly involved in the case. Because
there is that.
And I mean, there's both of them.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So, by chance, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, has a ghost ever come back to help solve his or her own murder? Well, yeah, supposedly that's happened. We've talked about that before in the Greenbrier ghost case. Bizarre, but fascinating. Allegedly, the first court case in U.S. history to involve alleged testimony from a ghost. Now, the ghost wasn't sitting on the stand. There wasn't an empty stand there and people going, hey, where is this person? No, we're not.
There was a rumor, though, that she did appear in the court.
Rumors are a totally different subject, but yes.
Well, yeah, you're right. Go ahead.
No, but I'm not disagreeing with you, but
you shot me right the hell down.
Saying that
no,
well, that too.
I'm just kidding.
Well, you have cases
not
like
angry,
that.
Patrick. Anyway,
man, you sound fierce. Fierce. Mike is on a roll tonight. Yes, the Greenbrier ghost case, which again allegedly involved testimony from the deceased that changed the outcome of the verdict. Again, if you aren't familiar with that one, that was one of our very first episodes that we recorded after we became the Paranormal Zone. Mike, we've spoken in detail quite a bit about the horrible events that took place at the Cecil Hotel.
Yes.
If you're
abhorring.
Oh, goddamn. Yes, abhorrent too.
Abhorrent, yes. Whatever.
Covered extensively on such paranormal hit programs like Ghost Adventures and the like.
Mm-hmm.
Mass murderers, serial killers, spent time there. Richard Ramirez comes to mind.
Yeah.
A lot of crazy crap went down there. Alleged murders alleged to have gone down. Talk about redundant. Alleged murders alleged to have gone down allegedly at the Cecil Hotel. And also, that's the case, Mike, where that, you mentioned it before we started recording, where that terrifying, absolutely awful outcome for the poor woman who ended up dead and found floating in the water tank up on top of the building.
Yeah. And I gotta discuss this just for a moment.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Please do.
Didn't the water start tasting weird?
Oh, yes.
As
Mike laughs about this, but yes.
I'm laughing in fear and
discomfort. I know.
Discomfort.
Yeah, it's gross and it's tragic. I mean,
it is extremely.
That's
tragic.
where you can find that elevator footage of this poor woman. It looks like she's peeking in and out of the open elevator doors as if someone is tracking her down. I mean, she's acting very bizarrely.
Very. It's either there was a ghost or some kind of a paranormal event going on, or she hadn't taken her psych meds in 2 weeks.
Well, either one is possible.
I have no idea.
Maybe both.
And I'm not making fun of
No, absolutely
because,
not.
God forbid, I'm on a lot of them.
Mike just started convulsing a little bit.
That was my Joe Cocker imitation.
Well, you're one-armed Joe Cocker.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, like the people who were staying at the hotel started complaining about, like you said, Mike, an odd bitter / sweet taste, but like a gross sweet taste in the water. And they kind of, they threw that aside for a while because they were figuring, well, maybe it's just how the water is here. But then other people started complaining and reporting that when they would turn their faucets on, black water ran out of the faucets.
Yeah, and fingernails and pieces of skin.
I'm not sure about the fingernails and pieces of skin.
Hair.
Now, if you don't report that, there's just something. I'm blaming you.
Right.
But yeah, it was. It's disgusting and tragic. But a lot of weird shit supposedly went down at the Cecil Hotel. Was the hotel itself the reason behind all this weird shit? Did people like Richard Ramirez and a lot of the supposed satanic rituals that were performed there by various people, various groups, did that have something to do with the paranormal activity? I don't know. I mean, it could be a combination of all of it, right?
Yeah, and it could be built on a huge portal where all the demons can come in and out anytime they want.
I don't like that idea. That's...
but you think about it. Could there be something like that somewhere on Earth?
Why not?
On this planet, yeah. Like a portal to hell, where we went and checked it out.
Yeah, it just looked like some dirt and grass. But hey,
yeah, but it was cool though. It was cool.
I know it was cool. I'm just that's just kind of what it looked like. It was the most terrifying part was me sticking my hand down that gopher hole to grab your flashing balls.
I was waiting for Patrick to come out with a gopher stuck to his finger. Blood squirting out all over the place.
Oh, man. That'd be one nasty squirt or gopher to do that.
Man, you'd have to go in for a shot after that.
Yeah, and multiple fingers, not just your thumb, right?
Yeah.
Mike, the first one I want to talk about is one I had never heard of. I ventured to guess it's something that you probably weren't familiar with either. The reason I say that is because that was the one link that you didn't look at.
Okay.
But this is from crimereads.com. It's an article posted by an author named Susan Furlong, but she went on a trip to Alabama to interview a haunted doll collector / paranormal investigator / author, Kevin Kane. All right. Now it's a pretty interesting. I'm not going to read all of it. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to get down to the part of the article that relates to this topic at hand. True crime / related to paranormal.
Paranormal.
Now, Mr. Kevin Kane has a book titled My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side. One of the portions of the book, he writes about the suicide / murder of a man referred to as Daniel McKent. Now, this name has been changed to protect the family because, as I wrote down in my professional notes, this case is still under review. Now, that's according as to the time when this article was published. I don't know if that has changed since then, but I am going to refer to him as Daniel McKent. Now, according to Kevin Kane, back in 2016, Mr. McKent's body was found outside of his home in Vestavia Hills, Alabama. It appeared that he had died from a single gunshot wound to the back of the head. Neighbors had reported that Daniel had recently slipped into a depression after the death of a loved one. He'd also, unfortunately, as a lot of people do, had accrued a substantial debt, lost his business, and suicide was allegedly contemplated. It was definitely suspected by friends and neighbors, and it was suggested by the fact that only Daniel's prints were found on the gun that investigators claim to have pulled the trigger. Okay. But again, right away, you're like, okay, back of the head, he pulled the trigger.
Right away, Lincoln style.
Yeah. I mean, right away, it's like, but that's neither here nor there. As he goes on, he says other evidence at the scene actually indicated foul play. One such example being the rifle used to kill him was actually located quite some distance from his body. Now, I mean, what does that mean? We don't know. I'm sure there have been several horrifying cases, unfortunate cases, where someone tries to off themselves and maybe they aren't successful.
Yeah.
And in the throes of death, they really regret their choice and they're trying
and then they throw the gun across the floor.
And they're like, "Gall darn it, anyhow."
Get away from me, you gun.
Did you know, Mike, on a side note here, that's actually what happened to a Dr. Dodge who was a survivor of the Titanic tragedy?
He dodged it.
Oh, wow.
Good God. I'm sorry.
Dr. Dodge dodged death briefly from from an attempted suicide. Shot himself in the head. Survived.
And said he didn't do it.
No, and then in the throes of death, he went into the building's elevator trying to seek help, and he was found when the elevator landed on the bottom floor, and he was still alive, but, I mean, he lived for, I believe, a week after that until he finally died. But my goodness gracious.
Crazy.
How awful could that be? Anyhow... As I mentioned, the rifle that used to allegedly kill, that's my word for the night. I've been saying literally and allegedly. At least I use the word literally correctly.
Literally.
And when I say that...
Literally.
Because my 2 teenage daughters are terrible at this.
Literally.
They are literally terrible at it. And I'm saying that correctly. But
that's a thing in school.
Yeah, they'll say, "Oh my God, Dad, I literally died today." Well, no, you didn't. Anyhow,
This tree just about fell on me.
Literally. The autopsy performed on Mr. McKent determined that the bullet entered at the back of the skull, as was mentioned before. No suspect was named. The skull was entered into evidence, and the case, as I said before, again, does remain under review.
And when did this happen?
This was back in 2016 in Alabama.
Okay, wow. So
Now,
fairly recently.
The interviewer asks Mr. Kane how he came about to be involved in this investigation. And Daniel says that Kevin Kane said that Daniel's friend and estate executor, Marilyn, had moved into Daniel's home to inventory his collections that were to be auctioned. She called up his team, Kevin Kane's team, to investigate paranormal activity that she said she was experiencing while she was going through all of his stuff, okay? What type of activity do you ask? Unexplainable footsteps. Knocking on the walls, which, Mike, you experienced not that long ago in your own house. Now, was it on the walls?
Actually,
was it on the walls? Or could you not tell?
We're not sure.
Okay.
I mean, we heard the knocking, and I came out thinking somebody was at the door, but it wasn't from the door. And Mary thought it came from where I was at in the kitchen.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Because I do all the cooking. but I love it though. Anyway, yeah, that's
so now that adds so much intrigue to it as well, because you hear about that quite a bit when two people share like an unexplainable event like that. They'll experience it differently. Like, you went to the door thinking that's where it came from. It came from here. It sounded like it came from here. Where Mary's like, no, it came from over there.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of I don't know. That adds a little bit of
it's
intrigue.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
But as I said, after Daniel's death, the executor, when she was not his executor, you know what I'm talking about, the executor of his property, she claimed to have experienced unexplained footsteps knocking on the walls, which would stop as she entered each and every room. Pots and pans clinking in the kitchen. The sound of hammering.
Get out my kitchen and rock those pots and pans.
Anyway, go ahead. Don't look at me like that.
No, it's fine. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you hate being interrupted, don't you? Go ahead.
Not if it's worth it. Not if it's worth it.
Well, that wasn't worth it.
Well, it depends. Pots and see, now I'm flustering.
You're flustered now.
And pans clinking in the kitchen, then the sound of hammering and construction coming from the basement. Ooh. This went on for some time, but what actually prompted Marilyn's call to Mr. Kevin was when Daniel's spirit manifested and let out an angry scream before vanishing.
I would poop my pants.
Whoa, can you imagine that? Oh my gosh, seeing this spirit. yeah, I think I'd probably poop my pants too, Mike. Now, I don't blame you for that one. Especially if you ate some, raunchy food beforehand.
Yeah, and I tell you, as I'm getting a lot older, it's gotten a lot easier to do.
Well, it's going to make our next investigation that much more interesting, right, Mike? So
absolutely.
We'll make sure to bring along the proper cleaning supplies.
Bring a camp toilet. Put it in the trunk. Anyway.
Now, Mr. Kane went on to describe some of the methods of investigation that he used while, you guessed it, investigating Mr. McKent's home. And he used some of the classics, the K2 meter, to search for electromagnetic activity, thermal readers for obviously sensing hot spots and whatnot.
Such things as we have.
The spirit box. It was when he was using the spirit box that something really popped up that caught his ear and made him go, whoa. Now, according to him, when he was using his spirit box in the house, he allegedly, there's that word I'm using again, picked up the words money and murder. And when he played this recording for Marilyn, Daniel McKent's friend, she confirmed without a doubt that was Daniel's voice. Now, this is after, again, she supposedly saw his manifested spirit, which screamed in anger, and now they pick up his voice that said money and murder. You can only guess where the story is headed to, right?
He was robbed and killed.
Yeah, I was going to say something terrible, but I won't. No. He goes on to talk about, and it's important that we do this. He then goes on to talk about some circumstances related to this case that were supposedly related to a haunted doll that Mr. McKent collected. I mentioned earlier that he was an avid collector of such kind of odd, intricate little trinkets. Marilyn attributed much of Daniel's misfortune to a voodoo doll. Now, she said that Daniel traveled extensively, collected items from around the world, and she remembers when Daniel showed her a doll, a voodoo doll, right before his death.
How are you saying that?
How am I
You're
saying what?
Voodoo, right?
Voodoo. Well, how else am I supposed to say it?
I swear to God, I'm hearing voodoo.
Wow. Mike, are you being is a demon right now?
Got right in my ear.
Right in your ear. It's somewhere in your body. There's some orifice that's being affected by your demonic energies that are taking over. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, no, Mike. I'm saying it with a V.
Yes.
Voodoo.
Yeah. There you go. See, that was understandable.
Listeners, did any of you, besides Mike, think I was saying voodoo? I want to know.
They could have heard something totally different.
Well, did they hear hoodoo? I mean, there's that classic David Bowie
which
song.
Isn't far off from voodoo.
Very good.
No, as far as what they are.
That classic David Bowie performance in the classic movie Labyrinth.
Yes.
I believe he has a line. I believe he has a lyric where he says, voodoo, hoodoo, you do.
That's right.
Remind me of the babe. What babe? The babe with the power. What power? You know where I'm going. I apologize for butchering David Bowie's voice right there. Okay, can I go on here? I'm saying voodoo with a V.
I'm gonna be quiet this time.
No, don't be quiet. You'd be the worst podcast host on the planet ever if you just sat there and stared blankly at me.
Well, I'm talking about cutting in on you and stuff and cutting you off. That's not good.
Not about pooping your pants or
nope.
Mishearing voodoo and rudu and
nope. Poo-poo.
Poo-poo. Hoo-hoo.
You-hoo. You do what you do, the hoodoo that you do.
Anywho. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Now, this damned voodoo doll,
You just about didn't make that one. Anyway, go ahead.
Do you have like an orb that's clogged in your ear canal right now? I don't know what's...
They coming out? Oh, man.
Now, he showed her this. I'm just going to say doll, okay? He showed her this doll before his death. He said it was given to him by a Haitian woman who told him that it was cursed and would bring
Haitian
tragedy.
Woman, you must believe that.
Well, and she told him that it was cursed, would bring him tragedy or would bring tragedy to whomever brought it to their humble abode. Now, Mike, before I go on, and quickly, if someone offered you or if you were interested in a doll and they said, sure, but this is going to bring you tragedy because it's cursed, would you still bring it home with you, or would you at least have a second thought?
No, absolutely not.
You would not bring it home.
I mean, although I did bring a couple of souvenirs home from Tagus.
Oh, yes, you did.
But something like that, no.
I think we all brought home the stench of your brother's gas.
Sorry, Steve. But it was bad. I thought there was like a cow shitting in right next to us.
Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't just the gas. Forgive me. It was the leftover remnants of whatever he ate.
Because yeah, okay, never mind.
Yeah, we kid because we care, but my God, I'll never forget that. Sorry, listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about. Go listen to our Tagus episode. Now, Daniel thought that the curse was quote-unquote nonsense. He named the voodoo doll Mama. He called it Voodoo Mama.
Wow.
And simply added it to his collection. Soon afterward, his life took a tragic downturn. Now, the doll Mama was described as a small wooden doll with hinged arms and legs and human hair.
Mm-hmm.
The maker of the doll omitted her eyes, leaving dark open sockets in her face. This type of doll is commonly left by mourning Haitians at their loved ones' graves to act as a conduit, giving the dead person's spirit to the afterlife.
Wow. I never knew that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
See, yeah, you learn something every now and then.
Yeah, even on our show.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was getting at. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sure.
Well, what goes on here, I don't want to read too much because we have other cases to go into. But it says here, one of the questions was referring to Kevin. At one point, Kevin pulled a case from the shelf that contained a rather innocent-looking doll with piercing green eyes and a matching green velvet dress. I asked about her story. Now, this is one of another acquaintance here, all related to the same story. This is Lori, referring to this other doll. She was sent to me by her previous owner, Vivian, who purchased the doll from another online collector. Not long after receiving her, Vivian started experiencing, guess what, paranormal activity. She described sensing a demonic presence in her apartment, seeing dark humanoid creatures lurking about, that's terrifying, experiencing violent nightmares. In fact, during one nightmare, she awoke with scratches all over her body. Again, this is after receiving this doll named Lori. Once I received Lori, I also sensed something evil about her. So I doused her in holy water and prayed over her. Then
Doused.
I doused.
Like buckets.
Buckets and buckets. Overkill. It's like, yes, it is saturated. You cannot get this doll any more wet.
Yes.
Leave it as is.
You are correct, sir.
Now, after dousing it with holy water, praying, she then sealed the dolls in this case. The questioner asks, can a case contain a demon? Kevin Kane answers, no. The sealed case is used to keep the doll bound so that no one comes into contact with it, and hopefully it will no longer harm anyone. Going back to the questioner here. I'm saying questioner, interviewer, however you want to refer to it. The interviewer then says, Kevin put Lori back on the shelf, talking about Kevin the collector here, and our attention drifted back to Voodoo Mama and my final question. Do you believe that a curse or an evil entity is attached to Voodoo Mama and caused the tragedies in Daniel McKent's life? Kevin Kane answered, Marilyn thought so, but I've owned Voodoo Mama for several years now, and I have not sensed anything malicious or evil about her. To me, the K2 meter and spirit box readings from Daniel's residence are more convincing that foul play was involved in his death. It was as if Daniel was trying to leave a clue for us, perhaps hoping for a resolution to the crime and peace for his own spirit. Now, as we mentioned earlier before, this case, when this article was published, was still underway. It was under review. Mike, without spending too much more time on this, to me, it seems like they're picking up evidence, again, paranormal evidence, call it what you will, related to true crime. How do you feel about this man's murdered spirit? Well, his spirit wasn't murdered. He was murdered. His spirit coming back in anger.
Yes.
Screaming
Extreme anger
to his friend. Just screaming in anguish. Those words, money, murder, being picked up. This investigation is still underway as of, again, when this article was published. I don't know, your vibe, your thoughts on this.
When he was coming through, I mean, the spirit screaming and yelling along with what came across the spirit box. I mean, it's an obvious, get your attention, and there's a very specific message.
Oh, clear as day. Clear. I mean, if it's... Okay, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that something nefarious was going down there, right?
Great use of the word nefarious.
Well, thank you very much. I've been waiting to use that word.
I'm sure you were.
But obviously it involved money, some debts perhaps. I mentioned earlier that Daniel was, unfortunately, he had accrued some substantial financial debts. I am not suggesting anything, but hopefully we weren't talking about getting involved with low-life financiers, unfortunately, how do I want to put this? Loans that are bound to not be repaid, and what are the consequences of such? I mean, there are so many possibilities that went down in this, but money is involved. Money is the root of all evil, is it not?
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm thinking, pooping your pants aside, though, I still can't get over the image of a manifested spirit screaming right in front of you. What would you be driven to do, Mike, if you saw the spirit of a deceased friend do that to you? How would you react in all sincerity?
In all sincerity, I would stand my ground.
Okay.
Hope for the best.
Hope for the best.
But if it's a friend of mine, if he was a friend in life, he would have the same thoughts and feelings in death, I believe. So I would try to not think, well, he's not going to be here to hurt me, because I trusted him in life and I should trust him now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like I said, the message thing comes across that there's the anger and everything that was so strong that energy was there for him to be able to do that.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that, right? I mean,
absolutely
a reason for that manifestation. So, I'm interested in learning how this case came about, if it's still under review, if it was totally thrown out. I mean, I really don't know. As we mentioned earlier, this was back in 2016, but this is one example of alleged paranormal connectivity with true crime, because this man was murdered. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. A shotgun to the back of the head seems kind of difficult to pull off on your own.
Well, and that is so stupid. How? Unless you rig up some kind of a string on a pulley system, and or tied to your big toe and you kick out and shoot yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but that was funny. I get it. I totally get that. It's like, if this person wanted to off himself, they're not going to go through the intricacies. I can't speak.
Incontricity.
Yeah. Whoa, there's another. Holy Toledo. I just saw another wacky, wild orb. Hold on, boys and girls. Mike and I are going to take a brief time traveling excursion, because we've been seeing some weird crap on his webcam.
More than orbs, even.
And this isn't floating hair by any means.
No.
We've learned our lesson. Hold on, boys and girls. It will seem seamless to you, and I will learn how to pronounce words before we come back. Hold on to your seats. And we have returned after yet another successful time traveling excursion. Yeah, we apologize for that, ladies and germs. That was interesting, Mike. That last one.
It was very interesting.
Very interesting. We'll have to talk about that on our next Patreon episode, talking about all sorts of weird, crazy stuff.
And also the big misty thing that
what the hell is going on
behind me?
That wasn't
Maybe
like
it was. What?
I was going to say that wasn't like a physical manifestation of like your own noxious fumes.
No.
Expunged from your other orifices.
Expunged. Great use of the word expunged.
Thank you. I'm on it. Yeah, I'm doing quite well.
Actually, maybe it could have been my dad.
You've mentioned that quite a few times, and why not?
Oh, I know he comes around.
Yeah. Just kind of checking in on you, maybe playing a little trick here or two.
Yeah, I know his sense of humor and.
Well, like those missing dog tags,
Oh yeah, I keep those on my desk in front of me now, and I'm like, yeah, that is so weird.
It's like, okay, move them now.
That reminds me, there was another thing like that happened just a couple of days ago.
Oh, for gosh sakes, what?
Well, Mary had lost this ring, I don't know, a while ago, and this little pinky ring.
By the way, when I just said, oh gosh, what? I didn't mean to sound like, oh God, what now? I was like, oh man, no. I'm intrigued and I can't wait.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Okay, good.
But so she had lost this, and it's been gone for quite a while. And the other day, it was laying on the kitchen floor. I mean,
why? Why?
I don't know. it was. Well, I know we didn't hear it land or anything like we did the dog tags, but I just can't imagine, how that would have just appeared there. I mean, when I sweep the floor and everything, I don't see anything like that. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm waiting though, Mike. I'm waiting for something. It feels like it's almost building to something like this.
Yeah,
like your skeleton behind you or your baby alien. I'm waiting for one of those things to show up like on your bed in the middle of night, in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah, no kidding.
Ooh.
Yesterday, there's a cabinet in our living room, and Mary and I were standing by it, and I looked down and the door is open, and I said, "Did you open that door?" And, no, I didn't open it, but we were standing there.
Wow! And neither of you noticed it opening. You just noticed it after it was open.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's almost like these. If this is like some sort of spiritual activity, it's like they're waiting for the perfect moment. Okay, they're not looking.
Right. Yeah.
Let's pop that door open.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's so active. Not as active as that house in Park Rapids I lived in, but still pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's why I've got to do a spirit box session like we talked about send it to you.
Please do. Do.
It has to be done.
It seems to me like that its activity seems to be kind of accelerating since you've been doing a little bit of deep dive into the background history of the house. It seems to be kind of
there you go.
Coincidental, doesn't it? It seems
I think you're right.
Coincide with each other.
Yeah. It was after we got that spirit box session we did where I heard the name. What was it?
There were several. There are several different names.
I can't remember now, but that's when I went to my abstract and to look at all the people that lived here all the way back to 1882.
Yep.
And just finding that information, looking for that name, and of course I didn't find that, but.
Well, what I believe what you are referring to is that clip that I posted on Patreon that we recorded, I believe, my first visit to your house. And when I just happened to be listening to it again, I don't know, a month or two ago now. And some of those replies were just clear as day and really intriguing. I posted on the Patreon. You listened to it and you're like, oh man, those names. I'm going to look into those names. And so that kind of started this whole, shebang into looking into the background of the house. And here we are. Things seem to be percolating. How's that?
Yeah. Well, and when I'm looking at these names and people that lived in this actual house and the years that they were there and when they died, I mean, I'm putting a lot of energy into that.
Right.
And that could be easily fed off and maybe helping manifest some things. I don't know.
I'm thinking so, man. I am thinking so. And by the way, speaking of Patreon, I'm going to throw in the obnoxious plug at the end of the episode, but tune in because we're going to discuss a listener submitted piece of footage.
Oh, man.
That we posted on the Patreon page.
Yeah.
And we've been remiss, Mike, the last 2 or 3 episodes. We keep meaning to talk about it, and for whatever reason, it just slips our feeble brains, but not tonight. So stick around till the end of the episode, and if you want to watch the video, hey, go give us a shot on Patreon. It blows my mind. I still have no freaking idea.
Very impressive.
All right, Mike, we're going to briefly talk about these last, since we spent quite a bit of time on the first case, we'll have to kind of cut short the last 2, but we'll still get to the gist of it, and they're fascinating and, in an eerie way, for sure. Back in the Alternate Podcast days, I'm pretty sure we discussed this particular case. The Teresita Bassa murder case, commonly known to in the paranormal world as the ghost who solved her own murder. I mean, one of a few. There's a few separate cases of such occurrences. But this one is utterly fascinating. It's tragic, obviously. The true circumstances are tragic. Teresita Bassa was murdered back in 1977 under mysterious...
It was a good year.
Well, not for her.
No. Oh, no.
But
I meant no disrespect.
I'm sorry, that was just bad timing.
Chuckle, chuckle.
Oh man, I'm chuckling at you.
I know. But anyway, apologize.
Yeah. Well, I say this poor woman was murdered in 1977. You say that was a good year.
I remember well.
Oh man. Okay.
I was 15 years old. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. So, okay, deep breath. Okay. Teresita Bassa was a Filipina immigrant to the United States who was tragically found brutally murdered in her Chicago apartment back in the wonderful year of 1977. See, you refer to it that way, it's a little different. But,
Yeah.
her murder went unsolved for several months, with police having no real leads. So 5 months later, after her murder, one of Teresita's co-workers claimed to have been receiving information about the young woman's death while in a trance. This information actually led to the police convicting one Alan Showery of her murder in 1979. Now, the story goes as such. Is this ringing a bell at all to you, Mike, by the way? Because I know we talked about this a while ago. Years ago. Now, on the day of Teresita's murder, she had spoken to her friend, Ruth, on the phone for about 30 minutes. She told Ruth that she was expecting a friend to come around later, but didn't give this friend a name. Only 1 hour later, firefighters were called to Teresita's apartment after neighbors started complaining about smelling smoke. Now, when they arrived, they discovered Teresita's nude body hidden underneath a mattress with a knife protruding from her chest. Despite appearance, there was no evidence of a sexual assault. 6 months after her murder, the Washington Post reported that a co-worker of Teresita's named Dr. Jose Shua, known as Joe, claimed his wife...
Sorry. Known as Joe.
Well...
Just struck me funny a little bit.
Just like the year struck you funny, too.
Yeah.
No, it struck me funny. Sorry, that's what...
Okay.
See, I'm all discombobulated now. God damn it. Anything else you want to laugh at before I continue with this tragic story?
Oh, I'm sure something else come up. Go ahead.
Probably. Just continue to drink your sediment. Okay, I'm going to refer to him as Dr. Jose so Mike doesn't start bursting into laughter again.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Jose claimed his wife Remy. You want to laugh at that name too? Or is Remy okay? Now, Dr. Jose claimed his wife Remy was having what she referred to as visions about this murder.
But I'm sure Jose means Joe in English.
I'm sure. Well, it's just a casual nickname. That's all it is. It doesn't. Okay. I don't. Whatever.
Okay.
I'm flummoxed now. I'm perplexed.
I know your skin is turning different colors.
Is it?
A little bit.
Yeah, I can
just a wee bit.
A red.
It's getting shinier too.
A red flushed tint. I can see that. Now, after experiencing these visions, they reported that one night while Remy was taking a nap, she suddenly began sleep talking in another voice. They claim that this voice said, "I am Teresita Bassa." And
this is an awesome story, though. Go ahead. I'm enthralled and intrigued.
And told Dr. Jose, no, actually it was written here as Joe, but I'm not going to call him Joe anymore.
No, okay.
And told Dr. Jose that Teresita had been killed by one Alan Showery, their co-worker, and urged Jose to go to the police. When Remy woke up, she claimed to have no memory of this conversation whatsoever. Jose decided at first not to go to the police. I mean, I get it. I mean, putting yourself in his shoes, you can't go to police after something like that.
Yeah.
You just, they'd laugh at you.
Yeah, and they'd turn you right around. Get out.
100%. We got other stuff to attend to right now. Now, several days later, they claim that this same voice possessed Remy a second time. This time asking Jose why he had not gone to the police. Jose replied that he had no evidence against Mr. Showery. He cannot go to the police. This is something we cannot do. The voice then, they claim, told Jose that Showery had taken some of Teresita's jewelry and given it to his own girlfriend after murdering her. The police didn't know whether to take this information seriously or not, but decided to do a background check on Alan Showery simply based on the fact that they had no other significant leads. So I kind of get that. That's not far-fetched, Mike. And again,
right.
I use references that I'm fairly knowledgeable about. Going back to even the Ted Bundy investigation, they got desperate, Mike, and they started at one point bringing in psychics. They were looking for any possible leads. It's not an uncommon thing.
Right.
So they're like, well, we have no other leads. We're going to check this guy out. We're going to at least give him a background check. They found during this background check that Mr. Showery lived close to Teresita and actually had arranged to go to her apartment that night to repair her TV the night that she died. Detectives then brought Showery in for questioning, and he confirmed that he had gone to her apartment that night to repair the TV, but then left because he said he did not have the correct tools. The detectives, now skeptical, asked Showery's girlfriend if Showery had, by chance, given her any new jewelry as of late. She said yes. She allowed Teresita's friends and family to inspect these gifted jewelry items that she received. And guess what? They were confirmed that they were Teresita's jewelry. Now, when confronted with this evidence, Showery confessed to Teresita's murder. He claimed that after he left her apartment, he planned to return to simply rob her. When he returned, Teresita let him back in, and he then attacked her, murdering her, removed her clothes to make it look like it was sexually motivated. He then hid her body under a mattress and set it on fire. Showery initially tried to get the case against him dismissed because most of, if not all, the evidence was based on the paranormal. I get that, but I'm not siding with the murdering asshole by any means. Of course I am not. But you get the reasoning. You say, hey, these guys are claiming a ghost spoke to them. And that's where you're going to go on? But the police then testified that the way Showery quietly came with them when arrested without protesting suggested his own tacitly admitting his guilt. He was convicted of murder 1979. Mike, your thoughts on this bizarre case? Was Teresita speaking through her friend?
I believe so. I mean, there's too much that matches up, and it's like a bodily possession, during the sleep. I mean, and she wasn't going to give up in any way. So yeah.
No, Mike. No. Why? If this was truly paranormal in the way that the evidence came about, well, I wouldn't even call it evidence, but the way that the investigation came about in hunting down this guy, doing a simple background check. And I'm just doing this, I'm playing devil's advocate now. We know that there have been tragically millions of murders in the history of this earth,
absolutely.
Right? How many of them are unsolved? How many of them will remain unsolved? Why doesn't this happen more often? I'm playing the silly devil's advocate. I'm throwing out the silly question, but if this
it's not silly.
If this actually happened, why doesn't it happen more often? Do you have a thought on that?
It's not a crazy question at all. I mean, is it going on and not reported? I mean, but that can only account for so many.
Right. Exactly.
If it was still going on I don't know.
I can see a lot of people dismissing quote unquote hints they may be receiving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even the gentleman here, Remy's husband, Jose, or Remy's boyfriend, I don't recall. They dismissed it, like we said. They just like, we can't go to the police with this. But it was insistent, and they got desperate.
And I'm sure there are also spirits that have tried to communicate like that and got across maybe a message, and the person, reacted the same way. I can't go to the police, but the spirit wasn't active enough or maybe pissed off enough to keep going and keep bugging him. So it quits. And that would probably never be thought of again, except for telling stories around the campfire or something.
Yeah. Is there a chance that, man, as odd as it sounds, I mean, we talk often about.
Often. I'm kidding.
No, I'm perplexed every now and then. That's all I'm saying.
By my actions and behavior. I've been redirected, so carry on.
Did you say you've been redirected?
Yes, I did.
Man, now I'm like a brutal podcast dictator now. I have been ordered to obey, and so I shall continue in silence. No,
you are a dictator, and I'm not talking about a penis and a potato.
That's
not a penis joke.
No, it's a potato joke.
Right.
I totally lost my train of thinking. What was I? It
was a hell of a story. Go on.
I thought I had a good follow up to that one, but I reclaimed it. I got it. My feeble brain somehow hunted that fleeting thought down, and it's here, ready to go.
Yes.
And I lost it again. No, I'm kidding. Now we talk often of how spirits can or cannot move on, right? Sometimes we discuss tragic occurrences here on Earth where maybe the energy, the spirit, however you want to refer to it, is trapped here. I'm doing air quotes, trapped, because either maybe they do not know they have passed on. What the hell happened? Did you just shock yourself?
No, I just about knocked my microphone. I got to get a microphone stand. It's my Spock cup is just not cutting it anymore.
Spock's getting weak. Spock's letting him down. Yeah, Mike literally has his. There's that word again. My gosh, I'm saying. What was that? Was that a dog?
It was Mary sneezing. Bless you, my dear. Okay.
Bless you, my dear. Man, we're all over the place. I'm getting easily distracted here. So, whether or not someone who dies tragically on Earth, perhaps they do not realize they have died and they do not know how to move on. They don't know they need to move on, or for any number of reasons why they feel like they need to stay here. Like Teresita.
Might not just want to.
They might not want to. Teresita, she's trying to have her brutal murderer brought to justice, and so she is not going to move on until that happens. Now, and I ask you, well, why doesn't stuff like this happen more often? If we're going to believe this is legit, we're going to believe this happens sincerely, why doesn't it happen more often? The possibility of a murdered human moving on in the spirit world, Mike. Oh my gosh, how do I want to phrase this? How do you think that would play out more commonly than not? Do you think murdered victims, whether or not their murderer is brought to justice, they can move on, even if the tragedy of the murder is left open and unsolved, and the family will never really heal from that? Do you think they can still move on? Do you think that they are doomed to be trapped here?
That's a good question. If there's a spirit that is that has gone through that and is wandering or whatever, maybe they come to a point where they've been able to come to a point of forgiveness and letting it go.
That's what I was looking for, the forgiveness.
giving them the peace to be able to move on. And I'm gonna go beat my
No,
dog.
that's fine.
No, I'm not. I've never. She would kill me if I tried that.
Probably. And he's talking about the dog, not Mary, or both. I don't know. Maybe
My Great Pyrenees. Anyway, yes,
that is the key word. I think, Mike, is forgiveness.
right.
Because let's just throw that out there. I mean, listeners, how would you react? Would you be able to forgive someone who murdered, God forbid, murdered your child? You know,
it depends on how spiritually minded you might
right.
be. You know?
To me, it seems unfathomable to me. I don't even want to think about that.
Right.
But tragically, that's happened to far too many people. Far too many people that has happened to. That's been a tragic reality. A sad, sad reality. But they move on because they forgive those who have murdered their own child, their own family member. There's that giant beast.
It's my baby.
But
Mike,
Mike,
there's the other one.
again, is that something that you think plays a part in it? I know you do because you mentioned it already, but how big of a part is that in moving on and being able to spiritually move on in your own right? I mean, if you're able to forgive someone who did this atrocious act to your family, you're almost enlightened right there, aren't you?
Sure, absolutely.
I just don't know if I could do it personally. I would like to think I'd be able to, but man, that's a tough one. Really, really tough. How about you? I'm putting you on the spot. Do you think you'd be able to do that? You'd be able to look the murderer in his or her eyes and say, I forgive you. Sincerely.
Man, oh man. Oh man, that's a hard question because I would love to think that yes, I can do that, but I am also very human.
Yeah.
I'm very spiritual, but I'm also very human. You know.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah.
How about listeners? I mean, it's if you're interested, let us know. We want feedback on all sorts of stuff. Every time we throw out questions like that, when I throw out a question to Mike, he throws out questions to me, and we banter back and forth with our sometimes rambling responses. We want to hear from you guys too. We want to hear your opinions, what you guys think. Is that something you would find yourself able to do? I just don't know. I personally don't know. I'd like to think I'd be the bigger person, be able to do it, but man.
Maybe it happens more often than what we think. If it didn't happen, maybe we'd be hearing more of these stories.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. Mike, one last case here before we have to wrap up.
Yes.
Another tale that might be common in the paranormal field, commonly referred to as the ghost of Ann Walker. I'm reading an article entitled The Ghost of Ann Walker.
Well, there you go then.
But then it says, or dead women do tell tales. This is another intriguing story where a murdered victim plays a part solving their own murder, their own demise. Trying to find the good bits here and stuff. I don't want to ramble on too long here. But it starts the year 1631. This is when the story starts.
Yeah, this is quite an interesting
1631.
situation.
A good year, as Mike would refer to it.
Oh, sure.
A widower named John Walker lived in the English village of Great Lumley. His live-in housekeeper... Man, I think when I read this earlier, there's an inn that's mentioned in this story, Mike, that is... Well, it's bound to make you freaking laugh because of what it's called. This might be a different, different article. But
give it to me.
Well, I'm perusing. I cannot see the actual name of the inn from this particular article.
Okay.
But I keep scratching. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you by rubbing my neck and chest so sensuously.
I'm a bit disturbed.
Yeah, I got like an itch going on right here, so I'm just
I've got a chill up and down the back.
Sorry,
of my head.
I was looking kind of seductively there. So
Yeah, it's that white shirt
like,
started. He started unbuttoning it and everything.
Oh
And,
yeah. Oh gosh.
and then he unbuttoned it so far and pulled it over and said, "Oh, Billy."
Oh, Billy. And then I pressed my nipple up against the webcam, and Mike fell over.
And then I threw up all over it.
Yes, he did. Okay. 1631, as I said, a good year.
Yes.
John Walker lived in the English village of Great Lumley. His live-in housekeeper was his niece, Anne Walker, an attractive young woman in her 20s. Now, the story goes they don't know much about John himself, other that he was unpopular among his neighbors. He apparently was one of those people who, for undefinable reasons, had a knack for inspiring dislike and distrust. So one of them there, folks. You just simply didn't like him. Came across as a putz, basically.
You know what John Walker eventually became in life?
Who?
The Johnny Walker Scotch fame.
Okay, now wait a minute. Are you pulling the fast one?
Yes.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Sorry.
Okay.
Anyway.
You just don't understand my befuddlement every now and then, listeners, because of his damn poker face. Every now and then he pulls that out, and it doesn't matter what the hell he says.
Only at the right the right time.
Yes, and I'd never want to say the phrase "Mike pulls it out" ever again. Now, we don't know much about Mr. John, as I said, other than he was pretty much a putz. So it was a small wonder that when Anne suddenly disappeared from Great Lumley, villagers immediately suspected something very unpleasant. Now, John's story was that his niece had simply taken ill. She got sick, went to stay with an aunt in a neighboring village until she recuperated. However, the common belief was that John sent the girl away because, guess what? Good old Uncle John got his niece Anne pregnant. Anne Walker's fate seemed destined to remain a mystery. Then, a great Lumley miller named James Graham began having some very unsettling experiences. Just like Mike's having unsettling experiences with his massive Great Pyrenees right now.
Well, God dang it. She came over here and got her head wrapped around my mic or my headphone cord and was starting to walk away.
That don't work. That don't work.
That would have brought me and the mic down.
Mike, I swear to God, you need some sort of partition, an unbreakable partition to separate you. You need a soundproof podcast booth. Simple.
Yeah, I got a very large closet.
You know what? The audio, the freaking dynamics would be great sitting in a
Absolutely,
in a closet.
They would be. Yeah.
You just have to get some light in there.
People do that for people that do sound over.
Oh, heck yeah.
Work and things like that.
Sorry. Getting back to the story, I think Mike
I got to quit doing that.
He is free of his doggy interruptions. Now, one night, Mr. Graham, talking about his unsettling experiences, one night he was working alone in his mill when he saw the figure of a young woman approach him. She was, according to Mr. Graham, of a disheveled appearance. She had 5 ghastly wounds on her head. The quote-unquote affrighted and amazed Graham, I'm going to start using that. I am affrighted.
Affrighted.
I like that word. Affrighted.
Yeah.
Realizing he was seeing a particularly horrifying ghost, quickly crossed himself. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And then the Spirit told him, I am the spirit of Anne Walker. It's kind of similar to I am Teresita. Very, very similar. Straight to the point. Who, while in flesh, lived with your neighbor, John Walker. I was betrayed by Walker. The ghost / wraith / spirit went on to say that after she became pregnant, John sent her to stay with her aunt. Soon before she was to give birth, Walker paid 1 mark sharp to take her away from her aunt's home, claiming that he would bring her to some more suitable place to await her confinement. Confinement. Instead, Mr. Mark Sharp brought Anne to a lonely moor where he used a, quote, pick, such as men dig coal with, and gave me these 5 wounds. The spirit claimed that those 5 ghastly wounds to her head was the result of pick blows, coal mining pick
Blows.
blows to her. God, man. Sorry. To her head. Her body was then dumped in a coal pit. Mike's still giggling under his breath.
Done.
She ordered Graham to relate her story to the nearest justice of the peace, warning him that until he did, she would continue to haunt him. So Mr. Graham's like, God dang it, I'm going to see this ghastly, wounded woman appear to me every night until I report this story? Are you kidding me?
You know, that there's another example of that, and that is Patrick Swayze in Ghost. Henry the Eighth, I am.
There you go. Oh, man. That's great. Perfect example. Now, what was Whoopi Goldberg's name? Was her name Rosalita? Was it Rosalita?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
No, it wasn't Rosalita. It was Etta Mae. Etta Mae,
that's the one.
Why the hell did I think Rosalita?
I don't know. She was the maid, I think.
I don't know who the hell it was. I honestly have no clue.
I don't know.
Now, Graham, who was described as a practical, no-nonsense type of man who would not even court such an ignorant fear of the supernatural, he didn't believe in ghosts, folks. That's basically what it said. Could not bring himself to follow the instructions from the spirit of Ann Walker. He feared, and not unreasonably, that everyone would think he had lost his flippin' mind. I threw in the word flippin'.
Yeah.
He was affrighted that people think.
Yeah, affrighted.
Affrighted, I would lose my mind.
Do you know why he didn't believe in ghosts?
Why is that?
It's Mr. Z got a hold of him.
Very good. Yes, very
that
good.
sense right back into the boy.
He sure did, man. Oh, man. Oh, we love Mr. Z. Great guest. We need to get him on.
Absolutely.
Oh, I lost my train of thought again, or my line of reading. Where the hell am I? Okay. But again, the murdered woman was not going to be put off so easily. She made a second appearance, Mike, and in a, quote, stern and vindictive, unquote, manner, demanded that Graham this time obey her wishes. When that also failed to move Graham, the now very fierce and very cruel ghost returned for a third time. Graham finally got the message. He simply didn't want to see this ghost anymore, and so he didn't want to wait for another 4th visit. The miller then went to the magistrate and repeated what Anne's ghost had told him. Fortunately for Graham, his reputation for honesty and probity was such that his bizarre tale was taken seriously. Now, he had such an esteemed reputation, Mike, as such a level-headed, logical, nonsensical man that the magistrate and the people believed him. Even if it was a ghost story. They're like, wow, if he says it happened, it happened. Can you imagine if it was that easy nowadays?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's a fantasy nowadays.
Oh, it's absolute fantasy. A search was then made of the area, which resulted in the discovery of this poor woman's corpse. She was found in the exact location described by the ghost of Ann Walker. The wounds on the body were identical to those Graham claimed to have seen on the spirit. The apparition had also helpfully provided the spot where the murder weapon and Mark Sharp's own bloody clothes had been hidden. Sharp and John Walker were promptly arrested, put on trial for murder. Unsurprisingly,
hanged. Oh, go ahead.
Well, we shall see. Unsurprisingly, the case created an immense sensation. Further paranormal evidence was provided by the jury foreman, a Mr. Fairhair, just like Mike. Fairhair.
It's getting fair, I tell you.
Fairhair testified under oath that during the trial he witnessed the likeness of a child stand upon Walker's shoulders. It was even reported...
He's got the mind of a child. Sorry. I can't help it.
I need that soundbar again. God darn it.
Yes, you do.
It was even reported that at the conclusion of the trial, Anne herself made an appearance in the courtroom, holding a baby in her arms and chanting, "Hush a baby, hush a baby, hush a baby, be."
Yeah, that's the one that I was talking about earlier.
Damn.
That I mistaken what I.
Well, as she wrapped up her little soliloquy here, it says, "Hush a baby, hush a baby, hush a baby bee. 'Twas Sharp and Walker that killed thou and me." Her baby, her unborn baby.
Yeah.
Now, according to rumor, Anne's terrible spirit visited the judge as well. As for everyone else was concerned, all this was definitive proof that Walker had indeed made his niece pregnant, which led him to hire Sharp to murder her, I should say. So, Mike, thoughts? Again, you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt when it comes to, particularly old.
Right. As old and ancient as that story is.
Damn near ancient, yeah. Hundreds of years, people's minds were more apt to believe in the supernatural. I mean, it was more common to believe in the supernatural than it wasn't. I mean, let's be honest. It simply was. Your thoughts on the story of Ann Walker, Mike? Was this something? What is your vibe on this? This is a pretty well-known ghost story.
It is. My vibe.
Your vibe. Your initial reactions.
I have a vibe.
He does have a vibe, man, and a voice. Listen to that voice.
Yes, the vibe that I have is that it's there's some actual occurrences and some truth to it, I think. But there's over the centuries, there's been embellishment. If you could get back to where this story may have actually originally been written down or recorded and go from there, if that even exists,
if there's like some original transcript or
exactly
record of it, that'd be fascinating.
Yeah. But is it possible? Absolutely. You don't hear about things like a spirit showing up in a courtroom full of people, with the baby,
Can you imagine if that actually happened?
Yeah, I think that would be a lot bigger story that would have lasted more than.
But you know what? It's almost like something that if it did happen, that maybe. We're also talking about very heavily religious times, where this was such an unbelievably supernatural thing. Out of fear, it may have been suppressed. The story itself could have just been, sequestered, if you will.
Exactly.
In this little locale, and the story not allowed to expand throughout, the region, the country, the world, what have you,
And they thought people would panic.
That too, we don't know. We weren't there, but I think it's a possibility. It's fascinating.
It is. It's very possible.
What do you guys think? What do you guys think of these three stories that we shared tonight? They're all intriguing for sure. All true crime, all relating to the paranormal in one way or another. Again, we're combining some of our topics of passion here. I enjoyed it, Mike. I think this was a good discussion. I mean, prayers to all involved in these true life murders, and their families. Obviously, no matter how long ago this occurred, it's still a dark stain to all involved. Mike, before we wrap up, we need to talk about the video that Ness sent us.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, Mike, just tell us your thoughts. Describe the video. Now, Ness Ortiz is a longtime listener, a friend of the podcast. We hope you're doing great, Ness. I know you had to undergo surgery recently. I hope you recover well. Speedy recovery to you. Thank you for the support on everything on the podcast, my artwork, everything. You're awesome. And thank you for submitting this video. She sent me this email, and with a clip attached. Mike, take it away. What the hell did you see when I sent this clip to you?
Well, It's like, okay, it's a doorbell camera. And, of course you can see, the front steps, the sidewalk, the street, across the street, the houses, sidewalk. And you're seeing this in, like the black and white type night vision, the way it looks. Now, when you first told me about it, you said, now look in the right-hand side. So here I'm looking on the stairs. I mean, on that porch of this house that the doorbell was from. And I was like, I don't see anything.
That's
And
right.
I was like getting frustrated.
That's right.
And then
because you wrote back to me, you're like going, I don't see anything.
yeah. But then you explained to me, no, look across the street,
Yes.
starting on the right side. There's something that comes out that looks like from a door of a house, or I kind of thought it looked like it was maybe between houses, but
Right.
not too sure about it. But anyway, so you see this kind of a dim white figure type of a figure. It's like it came through this yard, went onto the sidewalk. It dimmed out for just like a second, and then it came back, and it was running down the sidewalk. And when it got to the other end of the block, it ran across the street. But it looked like a child, but it was a white, misty, not quite transparent figure. It was amazing. To me, I mean, I kept looking it over and over, and I got close in on it, everything, and I can't explain it.
I know that's the thing. I've been racking my brain. Again, I'm using this phrase over and over. Playing the skeptical devil's advocate. I guess I'm like, how can I try and logically explain this? And I mentioned this to Ness as well, and it just doesn't pan out in my point of view, because you hear the arguments like, well, is it the footage of an actual person who walked down the street at one point during that day, walked down that sidewalk at one point during the day, and it somehow got caught in like a loop in the memory chip or of the camera, whatever you want to, however you want to throw it out like that. There's some sort of mix up that's happening there. You're seeing a replay essentially of actual footage.
No,
it doesn't seem like that at all, because it just, like you said, Mike, it walks in like two different directions. It seems like it's coming at the beginning of its appearance, is coming out from between those houses, kind of. That's what it looks like. Mm-hmm. And then it takes to what it would have been. It takes a right and just speedily makes its way down that sidewalk. And you can clearly see that it looks like it's human in shape.
Right.
Clearly.
Yeah, like there's motion in that. Like it wasn't like a clear, crisp shape of a human, but the suggestion was there with
limbs,
how it was shaped. Limbs. Like was there running legs on there as well that you could see?
There was, and yes, and the thing is with these limbs, you said it was kind of semi-transparent. That's another thing that's baffling, because at some point, some different points, I should say, you can see through it, and other times you can't.
Right. Exactly.
At different portions of the quote unquote, body, however you want to refer to it, however we choose to refer to it. It is bizarre. Different
fluctuations in energy.
I mean, it's what is happening there. Is this like a legit spirit that's caught on this door cam? It's awesome. I've watched it so many times. Yeah, I'm scratching my head. I don't know how to. Too. I don't know how to definitively say what it is, and that adds to the fascination with this. But I'm leaning that it's ghostly, Mike. I'm leaning.
Oh yeah, when you know me, I mean, I'm more easily convinced of something, of course, but it just felt so right to me. I mean, the whole thing, it was, and every time I saw it, I'd be just as excited because it was so cool.
Yeah. And another, an interesting side bit too, towards the beginning / middle of the footage, you can hear voices of what I thought were just neighbors hanging out in her area there. Neighbors to the right, neighbors to the left. But Ness, if I correctly recall what she told me, she says that there were no voices, no one out there talking at that time. And that is stuff that she has actually picked up on her cam before.
Well, that's correct. Yeah.
And she doesn't remember why she chose to even look at this footage. She was like, why did I decide to watch through this? I'd have to pull up her email to get the exact reply again.
Right.
But again, Ness, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but man, this footage it's pretty impressive.
Maybe we should have her on to talk about it.
Hell yeah. I've asked her to do that before, and she's like, yes, but we've shared her stories before.
Right.
One in particular. It's totally up to her, man. It's an open invite. to Miss Ness Ortiz. We'd love to hear some more.
Long-time listener.
Long-time listener and a great person. You can just tell.
Yes.
You can just
absolutely.
tell.
Absolutely.
Mike, this has been fascinating. I love having a great, fruitful podcast adventure with you. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, tasted like a rotten banana.
No.
No.
Well,
No.
A rotten banana covered in Mike's sludge/sediment tea.
Sediment tea. Yeah, and the last drink I took out of it, I swear to God, I saw a little tiny carp down there.
Probably. Mike is
bottom feeding on my glass of tea.
Mike, people usually drink their fluids, but you eat it. So that's how you consume your drinks. Mike eats them. So
yes,
that's
I do have one thing I want to bring up and mention and let everybody know.
Yeah,
that we are very soon, if everybody or nobody has forgotten about this whole contest thing that we put out.
Oh yeah.
That's
right.
We are going to be ready very soon to draw the name of the many entrants that we got. It is right now. They are in my vintage poppycock can from Canada. It's French on one side and English on the other. It's from Peterborough, Canada.
Very nice.
To all of our Canadian friends that I love so much.
English.
But yes, so very soon I'll be pulling a name.
There's that can, poppycock.
Yeah, it's from the 70s, actually. But anyway, I brought it home myself.
Very nice.
From Winnipeg, actually. But anyway, yes. So very soon we will be drawing a name, and whoever the lucky winner might be, we will let you know. And I am still, depending on who does win, I'm putting a package together of the grand prize, the grand poobah of everything that we can send as a great prize. I'm putting it together. It might be a plethora of small things. It might be just kind of a medium grouping of medium-sized, semi-sized things. And there's my dog. It might be one big thing.
It might be a pound of hamburger meat. We do not know what it could be.
No, it won't be hamburger. No, but anyway, but the prizes will be
the dogs.
Chosen.
The dogs know when Mike is
excited.
He knows when Mike's trying to wrap up the show because they're like, "Oh, Daddy's almost done. Daddy's almost done."
And once I take my headphones off, Macy, the shepherd, she's right on me, like, "Come on."
Oh, that's what Mary does, but that's okay.
But I want people to keep in mind that the prizes or prize will be chosen from my own personal collection.
Yes.
Of many things that I have. And
that's meaningful. That means something because it's this isn't just willy-nilly stuff that Mike's throwing out.
Absolutely not.
These are of course we are referring to the Name Mike Skeleton contest that we put forth a few weeks back. we have got quite a few really funny replies, some good ones. And some moving ones, some touching ones because of the reasoning behind the names. It'll be pretty cool. It'll be pretty cool to see what.
I teared up a bit.
Just a wee bit.
No. But yeah, like I said, from my own collection. So expect it to be possibly science fiction, possibly horror, possibly any kind of anything that we might cover on this show or that I enjoy in life.
A personal trinket of Mike's choosing.
Yes, absolutely.
Looking forward to that one. Let's do that next week. Next episode, Mike, we're going to pull out that winner. Can. Pull out that poppycock can. Before I forget, Mike, that was a different article that funny name that I referred to was in, but
okay.
I'm just going to say no. I'm just going to say it. Literally, in the story of the Ann Walker ghost, there was an inn involved. No joke.
Oh, yeah.
An inn referred to as the Cock Inn. I'm just telling you right now.